Good morning. My name is Lisa Raju Kessler, and I am here in Scarborough, Maine, where I've been temporarily living. Uh, but this morning on Facebook Live, I'm representing the Ecumenical Buddhist Society of Little Rock. So I hope you're having a beautiful day. But I did want to mention that we did have Earth Day yesterday. And it's a day that I just have some great memories of from over the decades, really, of different ways. I've been involved in celebrating Earth Day. One of the things I do, and it's a small kind of symbolic thing, but it's something I do on Earth Day and on the Black Friday shopping day that is really promoted commercially through all the different stores and things like that. I don't make any purchases on those days. I even avoid buying food if I can help it. Just a symbolic way of reminding myself that I can live with much less, and that when I do make purchases, to do so in a very mindful sort of way. So, with that said, I wanted to continue to focus a bit on Earth Day for our practice today. And I found an article on Facebook that I think Lions Roar put out the article. And it's Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's called Earth Gathas. Gathas is spelled Gathas, and a gatha is you could think of it like a chant, a poem, a prayer, however you want to think of that, but it's usually pretty brief. It's usually often repetitive, and it's a little something that you can say in a rhythmic sort of way, having it kind of match up with your breath. And often we just say it, mentally. You can say it out loud if you like, but you can also just, say it inside of your own head. So I'm just going to read a little bit on this, not the whole thing, but here's what they have to say. And this says it's by Thich Nhat Hanh, so I'm assuming it's an article he wrote at one point. Gathas help us to practice mindfulness in our daily lives and to look deeply. Reciting these short verses will bring awareness, peace, and joy to the simple activities we may take for granted, like eating a meal, washing our hands, or taking out the garbage. These gathas remind us that Earth provides us with precious gifts every day. And so here's one where it's a little gathas, taking the first step of the day. So this is one perhaps we could say as we're getting out of bed in the morning. And it simply goes, walking on the earth is a miracle. Each mindful step reveals the wondrous Dharmakaya. So I'll just say that one more time. Walking on the earth is a miracle. Each mindful step reveals the wondrous Dharmakaya. And so the article just goes on to explain a little bit what Dharmakaya is, and it literally means body of the Buddha's teaching. So Kaya means body, and the Buddha's teachings is Dharma. And then often that is translated on to mean pretty much the essence of everything. And here's another short little Dharmakaya for turning on the water. Water flows from high mountain sources. Water runs deep in the earth. Miraculously, water comes to us and sustains all life. I'm going to read that one more time just in case anyone is trying to get this in memory or perhaps write it down. Turning on the water. Water flows from high mountain sources. Water runs deep in the earth. Miraculously, water comes to us and sustains all life. And to just help us understand, running water is something that most of us, I would say, at least in the U.S., take for granted. But it's such an amazing thing when you consider it, that it's right there at our fingertips, this life-sustaining source, this source of life for us that we literally could not live without. And so the article goes on to say, water makes all life on Earth possible. Our bodies are more than 70% water. Our food can be grown and raised because of water. Water is a good friend, a bodhisattva, which nourishes the many thousands of species on the earth. And so I'm just going to read one more before we get started on our meditation. And this is looking at your empty bowl. And I just think this is so beautiful because, again, many of us, again, in this country, we have these psychological issues with food. We eat too fast. We eat things that we later wish we hadn't eaten. We just have a complicated relationship with food, when really all food is just something that we need to nourish ourselves. And so to have a pause before we eat, and to just consider the nourishment that we will be getting from food. And so this Gatha is called Looking at Your Empty Bowl. My bowl, empty now, will soon be filled with precious food. Beings all over the earth are struggling to live. How fortunate we are to have enough to eat. And so I'll read that one more time. My bowl, empty now, will soon be filled with precious food. Beings all over the earth are struggling to live. How fortunate we are to have enough to eat. So these are just a few of these short little verses that you could consider, throughout the day to help you with being mindful. And as I said, the first one is one that's a beautiful little verse to say as you're getting out of bed in the morning. Then that we have the second one that as you're turning on the faucet, you can say. And of course, the third one is just so beautiful when you're looking at your bowl or possibly plate. And we can sit with these earth Gathas, just reminding ourselves, I have the earth under my feet when I wake up in the morning. I have water that gives life to me. I have food just at my fingertips to nourish me. And remembering that all these things come from our environment, even the air we breathe. That in modern society, we may have distanced ourselves somewhat from nature, but really we haven't. With all that said, let's just start our meditation. So I'm just on my cushions, getting comfortable so that I'll feel pretty good for about the next 15 minutes. Just noticing the muscles that I need to use to hold this upright position. My back is straight and strong. And with that strong back, I can allow myself to relax the front of my body, to completely let go of my abdomen, and then of course open my heart to whatever arises. My legs are crossed in front of me. If you're sitting in a chair, you may want to consider, as you sit very straight and upright, to place your feet firmly on the ground below you. And no matter how you're seated, allowing the hips, the feet, whatever part of your body is coming in contact with the ground below you, just consider how the earth below you that you are connected to is supporting you right now. And as you lengthen your backbone and drop your chin ever so slightly, consider a connection between the crown of your head pulling you up towards the sky, towards the sun that also gives us life. Consider how all these things around you give you life, allow you to exist on this wonderful planet we have, and how everything, as Ty would say, is interdependent as we interbe with the world around us. Breathing in, breathing out. And as we continue to sit, we notice how thoughts pop up. often those thoughts have emotions attached, and they can just take us reeling into this emotional world out there, or in there in our head. And so this is where Gathas can come in handy if you have one that you've really liked, that you've memorized. Sometimes when we're meditating, we can even have something that we say. I have a version of the Zen for Bodhisattva vows that I like to say in my head when I notice I'm having a hard time focusing. So just let the thought come and go. And if you like, as you refocus on your breath, consider some little verse that may help you stay focused on your meditation. the well-being of all sentient beings, to the earth, to the universe. We are all interdependent on each other, and we all interbe. Just a couple of other things I wanted to mention. In case you really like that article I was referring to, let me look that up real quick. I can help you be able to find it online. So this is Lion's Roar, which is a Buddhist magazine. And the article is Earth Gathas. And it says it's by Thich Nhat Hanh. So the date of the article online is April 22nd, 2022. Of course, Thai had died in the last year, so I'm sure this article was taken from an earlier writing. But it has a lot of great information in it from a Buddhist perspective. And I'd also just like to say, there is a limit to what us individuals can do ourselves. I mean, there's a bigger picture, and sometimes it gets a little frustrating for me when I think, oh, I'm not using plastic as much as possible, and I'm recycling, and then we hear these stories of big businesses and things that are going on with them. And if you're like me, you may just sometimes think, what's the point? Well, I think there is still a point. And one of the biggest points is that corporations manufacture materials that people buy. And so when we avoid buying certain things, that means that these big companies will eventually start to rethink. As long as we're out there buying these big gas-guzzling vehicles or everything wrapped in plastic, well, those things are going to keep being made. Now, we can't, well, it's almost impossible to quit buying everything like that, but we can consider shopping mindfully, considering what we can reuse, what we can buy used already, and just anything that might be a substitute for something that is harmful to our environment. So I've got a couple of books here I just want to mention, and let's see where I put them. Oh, this one I've mentioned before. I love this book. It is by Thich Nhat Hanh, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet. Now, it's a collection of many of the things he's written in the past because it was published fairly recently. He was still living when it was published, but of course he had been in very poor health the last few years that he was alive. But it is his writings put together by other people, followers of his. Another book I found, and this is just kind of fun. I haven't read it all, but I'm enjoying reading it, and it's called Go Gently. And apparently this woman is an actress that was in some of the Harry Potter movies. I don't even know that because I don't keep up with all that. But it's kind of like a Earth Day 101 kind of thing, where it gives people some really basic information and then a lot of good ideas of just little things that you can do. Things that you may not think of are having a big impact on the environment, things that you purchase, and some solutions to do those things a little bit different. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.